We felt scattered. I thought, why do we have two different financial advisors? One's doing one thing, one's doing another thing.
We felt sometimes like we were being guided in directions to spend extra money on things that probably weren't always necessary for us.
I would not know for sure if I should put my money in here or put it in there. Should I buy this real estate?
Like, I don't know what to do with this money, and I don't want to just blow it and spend it.
We were concerned about our financial health and just wanted a better financial picture.
And so when Earned came onto our radar and we sat down with our financial advisor, it just felt different.
I think a physician specifically should look at Earned because the focus is on our field. They know what a physician goes through at different phases of our career. To have that knowledge in order to guide us, I think is just such an advantage.
Earned isn't just about giving us financial advice. They're about doing the things that are needed to be done in order for you to fulfill your financial plan that they have created with you. And that really was very meaningful to me.
Earned is kind of like the conductor of an orchestra. You know, you pull in the trombones, you pull in the trumpets, you pull in the percussion. But Earned is the one that's holding the baton. I feel trust that they're taking care of my entire financial picture, not just one little part of it.
As a physician, I know that what I do for people is really powerful and impactful, and it's important for me to know that the level of expertise that I'm working with for my financial health is there, and I have that trust for them.
It's definitely valuable because I don't have to go looking a million different places. Like, I don't have a lawyer over here, and I don't have, the insurance thing over here. Everything's under one roof.
Earned brings clarity to my financial life.
With Earned, I feel really well taken care of.
I feel my financial health is secure.
I feel supported.
Earned is security.
I would highly recommend any doctor to look at Earned.
I love what I do, and it's really important for me that my patients have the utmost trust that I'm taking the best care of them. I have that same amount of trust with my financial advisors at Earned.
Hey everyone, how are you? Good evening. Thank you for being here. I am Jorge Sanchez, co-manager of Physician on Fire. Excited to have this webinar for you. This is an interesting webinar because there's a topic that across America's cafeteria, hospital cafeterias and ambulatory clinic lunch cafeterias we've been talking about. And the big thing is do you do it yourself in terms of finance or use an advisor? And the name of this webinar is the best approach to optimize your wealth. So we have Jordan Fry. He is from the Prudent Plastic Surgeon. He's got an amazing blog. He's got an amazing story that he's going to tell you about today. You can check out his content on his website. And we have Mihan Hoskin. She's from Earned Wealth. She's a managing director and senior wealth advisor over there. We've been working with Earned for over 2 years. We have done webinars with them. We've worked with them to develop a mobile app. We call it a CFO in your pocket. You should check it out on our website. And they also are sponsors for the Prosperity Conference next week. So glad to have you, Mihan and Jordan. The structure of this webinar is that you can just shoot your questions on the side. We'll answer them after the main presentation. And without any further ado, Jordan, you can take it away.
All right. Thanks so much, Jorge. So I'm super excited to be here and talking about this topic, which, like Jorge said, it is something, if not on like an almost daily basis, a weekly basis, I get asked about for sure. So we're going to kind of start off talking about why do it yourself. Like what is the case for doing it yourself, and when does that make sense? And then when to use an advisor. And then we're going to go more into what Earned has to offer specifically, and then we'll have a Q&A, which I'm really excited for. So I'll kind of start off the why do it yourself portion, talking a little bit about my story. So I'm a full-time practicing academic reconstructive plastic surgeon. I'm in my 5th year of practice after training. And my kind of financial story started about 5 years ago at the end of my training, where at that point, I was completely financially clueless and kind of had actively buried my head in the sand at that point, and I was burned out. And I recognized that a huge reason for my burnout was a complete lack of financial well-being, which I didn't even consider to be a component of well-being, but recognized too late that it was. And basically, at that point, I was, yes, about to graduate, and everyone was telling me everything was fantastic, but I internally was going like, no, you don't understand. It's not great. I have so much student debt, credit card debt. I have no savings, no investments. My income's going to increase, but everyone's just telling me about how all my expenses are going to be increasing even more than that. And I don't see a way off this hamster wheel. And that was the main factor contributing to my burnout. And this number here, this is what my net worth was the first time I checked it towards the end of my training. And that was a real pivotal kind of seminal moment for me, because I didn't love seeing this number, obviously. But this is actually when I started to feel empowered, and that there was something I could do to make this better, and that I could actually get on the path to financial freedom. So calculating my net worth showed me what my assets were, which were very few, but what I could do to start building those, what my liabilities were, which were huge, and what I could do to start getting rid of those. And all of a sudden, I began to understand the rules of the game. And I started doing some self-education, reading blogs like Physician on Fire, listening to podcasts, reading books, and just gaining some sort of basic financial education to start to be able to improve my financial well-being, which I saw happening slowly over the next months, even as I was still a trainee. And that ultimately culminated in the creation of just a very simple financial plan that would guide me and my wife to financial freedom in 20 years. And that was a really powerful thing for me. And I felt my burnout alleviating. I had really, along with this burnout, this disconnect between like the image of what I felt like a plastic surgeon and physician should be and what my reality was and what my values were. And so all of this coincided with kind of aligning my financial values with my professional values and personal values, and just was a huge benefit to me, not only again personally, but professionally. And I found myself becoming a better doctor, really loving what I did again. And this coming from a place where I was really burned out and wondering, how am I going to do this, for the next 30 years or so. So the biggest mistake and lesson that I've learned is you need to pay attention to your financial well-being. We're very educated people as physicians, but we have no formal education when it comes to personal finance or financial well-being. And so you just can't ignore it. And that's almost the antithesis of what we experience for the most part in medicine, where there's a big taboo saying, we didn't get into medicine for the money, we got into it to help people. We shouldn't think about money as physicians. And what I realized is I actually became a better physician when I started thinking about it. So that's just such a huge thing, and something that I really preach to all physicians is you have to have and take responsibility for your financial education. And so within that, I began on a do-it-yourself kind of journey. I realized that I liked this. Especially as I found my financial well-being improving my overall well-being and making me enjoy my work more, it certainly motivated me to take control of my financial well-being. And so these kind of circles all aligned for me. I had an interest. I found the time to do it, which I was still a trainee and then a new attending plastic surgeon full-time, going through the boards process. But I was still able to find and make the time because it was important to me. And then the knowledge I gained, which is, something that can seem really daunting, but through either, like, again, blogs, podcasts, books, you can find the knowledge to do it yourself. And again, this all culminated in my wife and I creating a written financial plan that said how we were going to invest our money, with the core of it being, creating a savings rate of at least 20% of our gross income. For us, it ended up being closer to 40%, but 20% is a good rule of thumb. Investing it in index funds according to our asset allocation, which for me was 90% stocks, 10% bonds, and then also investing in cash flowing real estate and paying off our debt. So that's kind of how I came to begin and a do-it-yourself kind of approach. The case for it, there is a simplicity to it. A very sort of like cookie cutter rule of thumb, kind of way of doing this that works is, again, save at least 20% of your gross income, invest it in index funds, rebalance once a year, which means just getting back to the percentages that are desired based on your asset allocation, and essentially work for 30 years. If you do that as a physician, you'll reach financial freedom. You might not do it in the quickest way possible or the most accelerated way, or necessarily maximize exactly as much as you could have had in your nest egg, but you will get to financial freedom, and it's a very simple way to do it. You also have to have discipline to do it yourself, because you are going to be a stay the course investor. So when the market is down, you're still investing in it. So you just have to have that temperament not to make panic-driven decisions, such as if the market's down, selling. That's what you don't want to do. Or in the middle of a craze, that you're going to buy something when it's at the top of its value. That's also not a smart investing move. And then, so, the value, again, you're going to be, if you're going to be working with an advisor, you're going to kind of be looking for value outside of this. This is going to be kind of the core of your investing strategy. And so that's really the people that do it yourself works for the most. Now, how do you get started? Do it yourself. We kind of talked a little bit about the resources available. It's books, but you're in the right place in that all of us, and the reason I think we all initially met each other and kind of continue to work together is because we're all super education focused, and educating doctors and their financial well-being is a huge point of emphasis for us. Something we feel very passionate about, and something we think is necessary for all doctors. So certainly what Jorge does at Physician on Fire, what I do at Prudent Plastic Surgeon, and what Mihan and her team do at Earned, which goes beyond just even advising. They have a huge educational component that is just free through the app that Jorge talked about, through their site and the Earned Education Center. So you're in the right place if you want to do this. You certainly, through these 3 resources, can find the information needed to successfully do it yourself. So then the question becomes, well, when should you bring in an advisor? And so I actually am a client of Mihan's. And I said I began doing it all myself, and there's a lot of components that I still do myself. But there was a point that I got to where I said I need to bring someone else in to help with certain components. And the analogy, and Mihan, the team, and kind of always laugh at me, but I think about it like landscaping in terms of like financial advisor or wealth management, or bringing in some help. So the reason it's like landscaping is, I know how to mow my lawn and to trim my hedges and everything like that. But I know that I won't do it if I'm just left to my own devices. And it certainly won't look as nice if I do it myself. So I hire someone, and I pay a fair price for someone to come and take care of my landscaping. So building wealth is like that. You still have to know how to do everything yourself. You should have a good education, and certainly any advisor you're working with should be focused on your education and making sure you're not only understanding, but theoretically could implement the strategies that they're doing for you. So again, same as landscaping there, you should know how to do it, but you can find someone that can help you to even optimize and make things nicer. And I think, quite honestly, Earned is at the top of the field in terms of offering these services. And that's why we're excited to have Mihan here to share more about that. For me, what Earned gave to me and why I work with them is really these kind of three things mainly. It was additional oversight. It was another set of eyes to help look over our plan, to say, yes, this makes sense, or, you're doing this right, to catch mistakes or say, hey, this is something you could be doing better, and to help keep things on track. So to be honest, a lot of the stuff when I came to Earn and said, this is our financial plan, this is what we're doing, this is our insurance, this is how we're investing our money, it was a lot of like, yeah, that looks really good. I don't think we need to change anything there. But there were other aspects that were either completely missing, like our estate planning component was admittedly very lacking. And that was something that I worked with Mihan very closely along with my wife to fill out. There were other investing strategies that we weren't necessarily doing. For instance, we were focusing more on real estate investing instead of using the backdoor Roth IRA. Mihan, through her sophisticated software, which kind of brings us to the next component, was able to show us that by neglecting that, we were making a mistake. We were not optimizing where we would be. And she was able to show us in a very straightforward, well-modeled way why that was. So that changed our investing plan. And then it's just more efficient. So it's comprehensive planning. And I think Mihan's going to talk more about this. But this is kind of an all under one roof solution or strategy or management platform. So it's not a silo system where you have someone who's doing your insurance, someone who's doing your tax planning, someone who's doing the investing component, and so on. It's all under one roof. So I think we can all appreciate that in the medical field, especially. We've seen the systems where patients are being taken care of in all these silos, and how things can be missed, and there can be boat crossings in the night and stuff like that, versus when it's all under one roof and kind of well coordinated. So it's more efficient in that sense. It's also more efficient from a fee structure sense, because you're paying one fee that covers all of this, which is really, really unique and really cost efficient. So those for me are the main reasons, and the huge benefits in my situation, which is what they kind of asked me to share. I think there's huge benefits, other ones that are for other situations and things like that. And that's what we'll kind of talk a little bit more about. So I'll kind of have Mihan jump in here. And again, Mihan's my financial advisor and guru and partner and everything like that. So I'm excited to have her join us as well and share her perspective. So Mihan, I'll have you kind of jump in at this point.
Thanks so much, Jordan. Appreciate it. And I really liked your Venn diagram, because when you think about it in those three components, if you're lacking in one area, the DIY is just not going to be as strong, right? And that's kind of where the advisor comes along. And from our research, doctors' financial needs are much more complex, requiring a comprehensive approach that goes beyond just investments. So as your net worth grows, protection of those assets go hand in hand. And we believe that doctors deserve better, and that's where Earned can help. Earned looks at both the personal side of finance and the business side. On the personal side, for you, we provide comprehensive wealth management that includes financial planning, debt management, investments, trust and estate, tax efficiency, career advisory, and investments. Trust and estate, tax efficiency, and investments. Later, I'll go over some specific examples that just scratch the surface of what we do at Earned. For your practice, we help clients select the right retirement plan do tax planning, payroll, and accounting. So piggybacking on Jordan's Venn diagram for a DIY investor, you can see that with increased wealth and income comes more complexity and interconnected financial decisions that can have a big long-term impact. For example, a sale of an appreciated stock or practice surely impacts your taxes, which influences the financial plan. At EARN, the financial plan is the centerpiece to making sound financial decisions. But before we get too far along, you might be thinking, this sounds great. What does it cost? We are a fiduciary, and our fee is based on the assets that we manage and is a sliding scale. These are assets that we can actually take action in, such as your brokerage and retirement accounts. It doesn't include the value of your hard assets like real estate. Physicians on Fire members get a 5% discount too. We truly believe that the value that we bring more than covers the management fee because the tax smart strategies that we implement that I'll be showing you.
Yeah, and I think I apologize for jumping in again, Mihana. I just want to emphasize again, like this this fee includes all those services you just showed in the previous Venn diagram. And that's something I just bring up because I know, like, even before coming out as a client, I was like, it includes all of that, right? And yes, it includes all of that, right? Like, as because again, that it's just such a much more cost efficient model. So anyway, I just want to emphasize that. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Thank you. Yeah, no, other managers are charging the same rate and all they do is give investment advice, and that's not worth it, right? So I'll go through an example. In the investment domain, we proactively implement a tax loss harvesting approach through what's called custom indexing. So let me explain. To the right, you'll see an example of a typical mutual fund or ETF. Notice the stocks inside. Think of this as a locked briefcase. So when you buy an ETF or mutual fund, it's like buying this briefcase with stocks inside. It's locked and you can't change anything about what's inside. In the custom index below, the briefcase is unlocked. For example, last year, Intel was down 58%, CVS was down 40%, Nike down 28%. In fact, in 2024, 34% of the companies in the S&P were in negative territory, while 66 were positive, and the Magnificent Seven made up 53% of the S&P return. So when that briefcase is unlocked, tax loss harvesting can build up your bank of losses to use for the future. So let's take this to the next level by exploring a real life scenario. Here we have an orthodontist who funded $1.5 million in an account with EARN in 2023, sold the practice in June of 2024, and contributed $1.2 million more from that sale. In 2024, we were able to harvest $1.4 million in losses, which helped offset the capital gain from the practice sale. Now, I know you might be trying to wrap your head around harvesting losses when your ultimate goal is increasing your net worth. So let's look at it a different way. So when you look at the performance of the account, the time-weighted return is 39.3%. Time-weighted return is a method of calculating investment returns that eliminates the effects of external cash flows like deposits and withdrawals and focuses solely on the investment performance. Note that you wouldn't have been able to do this by purely indexing, as I showed you the example before with a locked briefcase, because you wouldn't be able to pick and choose the stocks to harvest losses. But because the custom index unlocked that briefcase, we unlock the ability to take losses on specific positions and then index. So I want to emphasize that you can harvest losses and still have a positive gain in your portfolio, as evidenced by this example. Now, let's take a look at these other financial domains I mentioned earlier. These are just a few of the many things needed to be considered when planning for now and for the future. So many of you are taught to defer as much income as possible, but there are nuances that we found in client-specific modeling that can call for participating in Roth 401k deferrals for a period of time before switching over to regular 401k deferrals. This can make a lot of sense when you have heirs you want to leave a legacy for. Leaving a Roth account to your kid is better than leaving the IRA because of that 10-year rule and ordinary income tax on the withdrawal. The other thing is to be careful when maxing out your 457b2 because you want to ensure that you're also saving for the present. All these deferral mechanisms are for your use at age 59 and a half and on. If you don't save money into an after-tax brokerage account, you may be missing out on investment opportunities or find yourself in a jam when you have an unexpected big ticket item you have to pay for. Don't get me wrong though, if you can max out all of your tax deferral vehicles and still have money to save into your brokerage account and college accounts and cover your living expenses, please do so. And then Roth conversions are a strategic tool that we model for clients in the sweet spot between retirement and required minimum distribution age, RMD. It can have a major impact on setting yourself and your heirs up for the future. So something that Jordan mentioned, the backdoor Roth. Backdoor Roths are a great way to get tax-free growth. The sooner you do them, the more time you have in your hands for compounded tax-free growth. While there are income limits on contributing directly to a Roth IRA, there aren't income limits for converting your IRA to Roth, hence the backdoor Roth. But note that you have to make sure you do this when you have a zero balance in your IRA. Otherwise, you're subject to what's called the pro rata rule. So here's a nice visual showing you the difference in savings when you compare an investment account to a Roth IRA. And now on to some examples in the area of insurance. One thing we find quite often is that uninsured and underinsured insurance is missing. You can't depend on your medical insurance to cover all of the costs if you're in an accident caused by someone else. If you have missed work, your lost wages won't be covered unless you had uninsured or underinsured coverage. We've also seen misaligned deductibles that don't reflect one's ability to pay. So if you're making a $500,000 a year, does it make sense to have auto insurance that has a $100 deductible? No. Yet we've seen it and been able to help clients reduce their premiums by having an appropriate deductible. A lot of people don't know what type of life insurance coverage they have either, and whether it's increasing term, level term, whole life, etc., and what makes sense for where they are now. The financial plan takes into consideration insurance and whether you're over or underinsured. So back to tax planning. In addition to the tax loss harvesting example that I showed you earlier, tax considerations can be seen everywhere. Maximizing HSAs for their triple tax benefit is huge. We've looked at tax returns and found inefficiencies in charitable giving, where many thought they were benefiting from the deduction, only for us to find that they were taking the standard deduction and it was moot. That's where strategic bunching of charitable giving can be a win-win for all. Itemizing the deduction and saving more in taxes. We actually have a great article specifically on that we can share with you. A common misconception is that you can only use $3,000 of loss carry forward, and that just isn't true. You can match dollar for dollar realized gains against the losses you're carrying forward. And then onto the career advisory. We use our financial planning strategies to help doctors contemplate job changes, benefits analysis, wages, and cost of living. We make exclusive introductions to investment banking and consulting firms, seeking doctors for practice sales or acquisitions. And we help ensure career decisions align with long-term financial and lifestyle goals. On to debt management, or debt and cash management. We have tailored discussions and strategies for navigating public service loan forgiveness and maximizing benefits. We can help clients utilize HELOCs to facilitate arbitrage during short-term cash needs. In trust and estate, we've shown the benefits of setting up ILITs, which is irrevocable life insurance trusts, to help reduce the estate tax burden to leave more for heirs. And in trust and estates, the common misconception is that you need to be rich to have a trust, and that isn't so. Another reason to review this is if you have a special needs child or you have adult children who aren't married, those adult children will want to name you as durable power of attorney and healthcare power of attorney, in case something happens to them and you need to access their accounts to help them or make medical decisions. So as you can see, the difference between Jordan's DIY Venn diagram and Earn's Venn diagram shows you the complexities that you need to be addressed as life gets more complicated and financial decisions can have a greater impact. I love the 3 points that Jordan points out: time, knowledge, and interest. If you lack in any one area, you put yourself at a disadvantage. At Earned, we understand the demands doctors have at work and home and are here to help navigate that journey with you.
Great, Mihan. So you joined Jordan Frey, and the prudent plastic surgeon, and Mihan Hoskin from Earned Wealth. We just talked about do it yourself or use an advisor, the best way to optimize your wealth, and very, very educational. One of the first things that comes to mind is a lot of physicians do side gigs. A lot of us are, we're like this, I'll call it particle wave duality. We are W-2s and we're 1099. What mistakes do physicians make when they structure their finances, when they're W-2 during like the weekdays and they're 1099 on the weekends, and their income gets commingled?
Yeah, so they should be taking advantage of that 1099 income. If they have the ability to defer more income, they should be setting up something like a solo 401k, for example, and be able to maximize the deferrals. They can do what's called profit sharing. And so while a normal W-2 person can only set aside, let's say, $23,500 a year, who's under 50, when you have the profit sharing component, you can add more. That doesn't limit you in terms of the profit sharing part. The other reason why the solo 401k is a good option is because if you keep everything in the 401k format and you don't have a balance in an IRA, you can do that back to Roth. So that even helps too.
Got it. And Jordan, I guess the question is, what was the aha moment that said, okay, I gotta go and get an advisor? What was the event, or what was it that you saw, or the trigger for you?
I think the biggest thing was just that we kind of got over the hump. We initially were, so far behind the 8 ball, and we kind of did the DIY and got to a point where our net worth was, $0, and we were getting into the positive. And we kind of got to where we were on autopilot a little bit. And my wife and I, we kind of just said, like, we should just get another set of eyes, and we should make sure that we're doing everything right, that we are really optimizing things, that the way we're paying off debt makes sense, that the way we are investing makes sense. And we came across Earned, and we started working together, and very quickly it was obvious that there was even more that they could offer. And so I remember our first meeting going through with Mihan, and their Earned obviously has very complex software, and she was able to put everything in and kind of say, okay, this is what you're projecting out to, which we had done as well, but not with as sophisticated software. And so we were able to see with a little more specificity, okay, this is where we're going to get, and then the adjustments we could make to optimize things. And then also just with the whole comprehensive nature of Earned, there were, just through questions she asked us and things like that, blind spots we realized we had. And for us, estate planning was a huge one. That was something that we just were not very successful at DIYing. Again, mainly because the of the Venn diagram, just the interest wasn't as much there, and the knowledge. And so that was something that we were able to do, to go from 0 to 100 with Earned as well. And honestly, I always tell this story, even though it might sound kind of weird, but the thing that gained my trust the most with Earned was not the things that they told me, hey, I think we should change and do this, but more so the things that they said, like, yeah, this is you're doing this right. We shouldn't change this. Like insurance, they went through all my insurance stuff, looked, and were like, we tried to find better deals. They weren't there. You shouldn't change your insurance. Like we should leave that alone. Even a lot of the investing stuff was just like, okay, we should leave that alone. So, that was for me huge, because I felt, again, they weren't trying to reinvent the wheel or just redo everything or doing something, not even that their model is lined up that way, but to increase commissions or something like that. It was truly just looking holistically and building the best thing that aligned our personal values, professional values with our financial values. So that for me, in our situation, was kind of the impetus and what brought us in.
For me, the aha moment was when it was too late. I had grown a hospitalist group in Florida, and we grew it to 51 physicians and sold it. And man, I just didn't. If looking back, if I had gotten financial advice and kind of financial advisor to structure myself on the personal side in anticipation of selling and getting the capital gains.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I went, we sold it and I went to my accountant. My accountant's like, dude, it's too late. Like, I can't, there's not much I can do. You already sold it. The cows are out of the barn, so to say. So that's one thing. If any physicians have a practice and you're going to position yourself to exit, please talk to somebody. Talk to Earned, because it does make a difference what your position is before you sell. Dr. Kinzo asks, do you have special rates for couples?
Well, in essence, it's 2 for 1 because together it's just the same AUM fee. So, no, or yes, I guess.
Yeah. The other thing about the value of your services, when you do estate planning, you have to realize that your CP, you have to get everything tied up, the tax, the estate planning, and the financials all aligned. They all have to talk to each other to make your estate planning align, which is very hard to do it in a siloed model. Because then now you have to arrange meetings between them, which is very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. In fact, the estate planning domain, we usually touch on that last in the experience with the client, because we want to make sure everything else is sort of lined up and understand what insurance there is in case there's whole life policies or things that we want to turn into an islet. But yeah, it gives us a better view.
One question I had is like, at what net worth threshold does it typically become more beneficial to work with an advisor rather than managing your finances and do it yourself?
So there are a lot of different answers I can give for that, because it depends. It's not just a net worth, right? It's not just investable assets, but I think it comes down to complexity and confidence. So when you get to that point where you feel like you're making some financial decisions that are important, but you're not confident about it, that's when an advisor is really important. I mean, a good analogy is taxes, right? Back in the day when you were younger, you probably did your own taxes using TurboTax, right? Because things are pretty straight. But when things got a little more complex and you're kind of second guessing, that's when you really want to bring on a CPA.
So I'm assuming you guys have like proprietary software that helps model and look at the outputs of potential financial situations for your clients.
We do. Well, we use MoneyGuide as the foundation for our financial planning. I would say though that the software itself, it's great, but the planners behind it take it to the next level, because you've got to really think about the different scenarios. It's kind of like Mohs surgery, right? There's the equipment, but you need the doctor behind it to make it happen. So, yeah.
You were talking about insurance. Do you guys provide guidance on insurance, like medical insurance or life insurance?
Yes, so we like to evaluate the insurance, both life, disability. We can look at home, auto, umbrella. We really are looking at the whole picture of protecting our client. So that's why it's not just life and disability, but it's property and casualty as well. We've partnered with the largest privately owned insurance broker in the country so that we're not beholden to any particular insurance carriers. We look at what our clients need and then look out in the marketplace to see what makes sense. And we do not get paid commission. So it's a really nice way to have someone on the same side of the table understanding what your insurance needs are instead of dealing with a person that represents an insurance company.
Got it. Let me see if you have any more questions here. So again, we're here with Mihan Hoskin from Earned and Jordan Frey from Prudent Plastic Surgeon. Any questions, shoot them on the side. Earned is going to be at our Prosperity Conference next week. They're going to have a table. They're going to also provide free consultations if we get to see you guys there. One of the questions I wanted to know was what are the mistakes do DIY physicians commonly make when they come to you that you typically see, besides the ones that I talked about where you come in after the fact when you've made a big sale?
What are the common DIY mistakes that we make or that I see? That $3,000 carry forward, I've seen it a lot. And I don't know if there's some misinformation on the internet somewhere, but there have literally been people that thought they'll never be able to go through their losses ever again because it was so big. But when I pointed out that they can actually use it dollar for dollar on the gains, it really opened up a lot of opportunity. I see a lot of issues on the tax return as well. So not getting the right deductions, not maximizing the savings in certain accounts that make sense, not taking advantage of the 529. And in some cases, if you have a lot of cash flow available, you can accelerate the 529 contributions and do like 5 years in 1 year. And so people aren't taking advantage of things because there's so much to know.
Those exceptions, are they state dependent, or does it depend on what state you're at
For
the 529s?
So it's not state dependent, so you can just pick any 529. It's just that in some states you can get a tax deduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, in others you don't. One thing too, though, I think is it's never too late to get an advisor. I want to share a story about a client who came to us at age 62, was a DIY investor all the way up to that point. But when we ran the financial plan forecast based on the input and the goals and expenses that they had, they would have run out at age 77. So luckily he had planned on working until 67 anyway. So we had 5 years to figure out how to fix that trajectory. And we were able to fix it to the extent that instead of running out at age 77, he would still have a couple million left by age 94, plus the house to give to the kids. So really a great way to save that trajectory.
Oh, wow. That's a great story. That's very optimistic, because when you started telling the story, I was very pessimistic about them being able to turn it around. Dr. Hall has a question, is how do you determine how much life insurance per person is recommended and when to drop? How much umbrella do you recommend?
Sure. So in order to find out how much life insurance per person is needed, it all kind of circles back to the financial plan. You may recall in that Venn diagram, that's kind of like the centerpiece of everything. So when we're running the probability of success, we'll look at the different goals that you have between now and the end. Because if you're younger, you might still have to send some kids to college, maybe pay for a wedding, just lots of different goals that you have. And so we'll run a scenario where if you died right now this year, you would need X amount of dollars to achieve all those goals. If you died in 5 years, you need this amount of money. So it'll show a decreasing amount of insurance that you need based on the areas that you want to cover. Then we'll oftentimes split up the term insurance. So you might get some in the 10-year mark and then some in the 20-year mark. So if you're following the financial plan and saving the way you're supposed to save, by that 10-year mark, you will have achieved a certain net worth and wouldn't need that insurance anymore anyway. So then you still have that 20-year available for the next 10 years.
Okay. Dr. Hall asks, oh, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the umbrella part too. That's a more of a personal preference, but I usually start at least at the net worth to cover your net worth. So if you have $1 million net worth, have at least $1 million of umbrella. 5 million net worth, 5 million umbrella. It's one of the cheapest insurances that you can get, so I'm a big fan of it.
Dr. Hall asks, how much do you recommend having in a 529 for someone in planning college in 15 years?
So again, we use our financial planning software for this. We actually can go as deep as like picking a specific college that you want to plan for your kid to go to and knowing the cost of that, whether it's or how much that would be, and then how much you have to save. We can use average in-state or average public out-of-state to do these scenarios as well. So there isn't a specific number unless we are doing the financial plan.
I'll say I did that exercise with Mihan, and it's terrifying, but very helpful.
Yeah, being ready for different scenarios is important. So I think that's it. We're almost close to the hour. Any questions? We'll grab them. Look out for it. If you all have to be called, you're doing a late shift and you have to be called to see patients, look out for an email. We'll send you a link so you can see this webinar in entirety. We'll see you guys at Prosperity Conference. We're going to be doing another webinar in a couple of weeks with Earned again. Now some questions are coming in. Do you guys manage solo 401ks? She said yes. Oh, you beat me to it. We're promoting the Earned mobile app that we helped Earned develop. I think it's great. There's content in there, so you have access to Earned's educational content and also to Physician on Fire content. And check out Jordan Fry's The Prudent Plastic Surgeon on his blog. He's got a great story, great content. And we'll catch you guys the next time around. Remember, we're saving America one patient at a time. So keep up the good work. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.